Right, let's talk about last night. Sheffield United 1, Manchester United 2. Nothing seems easy for Manchester United at this moment in time. And I think Sheffield United actually shackled United for most of the first half of this game. McTominay's goal came against the run of play. Problem is United could still have scored 4, I think, during the course of that game. Amrabat hits the bar. Fernandes hits the bar from a free kick. Rashford sends a shot just wide in the second half, which shows you two things. One, they're not creating enough. They're not being clinical enough in front of goal. And I think the record of the forward players suggests that. But also, it's going to be really difficult for Sheffield United to stay in this league.
Thing is, Sheffield United aren't clinical either because they had decent chances. Archer had a couple of chances, didn't they? Ryan Brewster made a good save from Onana. And their passing was good, wasn't it? Sheffield United was in sort of different patches where Ollie Norwood was getting himself on the ball and, like being sort of the little playmaker. And they're just a little bit too loose and a little bit too open at the back. Their structure, Trusty and Robinson at centre halves, I think their concentration levels can just sort of go on the wane a little bit. And Manchester United, you mentioned there about their forwards. Marcus Rashford is the only forward who's got a Premier League goal this season. So
he's only got one.
Exactly, he's got one, exactly. So Manchester United aren't particularly clinical. And I was at the Brentford game where McTominay obviously was Mr. Wolf and just solved all their problems and got them out of trouble. And they looked at, again, a little bit scratchy yesterday. Amrabat just dropping that little bit deeper, again, trying to be the playmaker, going in between Harry Maguire and Johnny Evans. And at least there's a bit of fighting spirit there, Crookie. They've got a little bit in them where people are questioning, Ten Hag, is he too much a disciplinarian? Is he trying to impose too much on this squad of players? I actually think the way that he's going, it's going to be quite a hard battle for him, but I actually think the way he's going about it is the right way.
You were not impressed last night, were you?
No, it was a slog. And I listened to most of the game driving back from Stamford Bridge, and it was a hard listen. That's no reflection on Dance's commentary. It was difficult for Manchester United. And I think there's going to be more of that kind of game. It might happen again on Tuesday night. Under normal circumstances, you would expect United to beat Copenhagen with something to spare. I'm not sure that's going to be the case because, as Perry said there, it's a long battle, this, I think, for Erik ten Hag. But it is back-to-back wins in the Premier League. Neither of them were particularly pretty, but they are at least showing a little bit of character. And I've got to pay tribute to Harry Maguire. Obviously, I've been a big critic of Maguire, but I think if you look at his recent performances, I felt like he should have kept his place in the Premier League team after he came in against Palace in the League Cup. Obviously, Ten Hag put his faith in him yesterday, and I think he was probably just about Manchester United's best player. So credit to him because he's shown tremendous spirit in adversity. I think McTominay the same. It was pretty clear that if United could have got decent money for him in the summer transfer window, he wouldn't be there anymore, but he's fought his way back into Ten Hag's affections. But it is the forward plays. You're right, Rashford had so many good situations down that left-hand side, and he just made the wrong decision with the final ball. Same with Anthony. I thought United looked a much better team when Garnacho came on. I hope he starts against Copenhagen.
When do you start
getting
worried
needs
about
a goal,
Højlund?
doesn't he? Yeah, he
when
needs
do you
a goal.
start getting concerned about it? Because he's scored in the Champions League but hasn't scored in the Premier League yet. I mean, there was a great save from Fotheringham at one point during that game, and he probably on another day would have got his goal, but he hasn't got one yet.
No, he hasn't, and he's had opportunities, and at the moment the luck isn't quite going his way. But I guess I'd be more concerned if he wasn't putting himself in positions to get those opportunities. In the end, one will go in, and you look at the goals that he scored in that last Champions League game against Galatasaray. I think there's a good player in there.
Also, he needs crosses coming into the box.
He does.
Manchester United, you look at, you say Anthony plays on the right hand side,
Big
keep
cuts
coming in on his
left
left foot. Marcus Rashford plays on the left hand side, keeps coming in onto his right foot. So he wants wingers to go on the outside. Garnacho might be that solve that problem, going on the outside, getting his crosses in. So he's sort of playing on scraps at the minute, isn't he, Højlund? So I wouldn't say it's all his fault, but as you said, there is a player in there if he gets the service.
Only 2 teams in Premier League history survived relegation with 1 point after the first 8 games. That was Southampton in 98-99 and Sunderland in 2013-14. No one has survived when they've got 1 point from 9 games. What happens to Sheffield United here?
Well, they're gone. They've got no chance. But they had no chance from the minute the owners sold their 2 best players on the eve of the season. I feel really sorry for Paul Heckingbottom. I think probably will end up losing his job because you can't keep losing football matches. But he had the rug pulled from under his feet, really. And obviously they've been unlucky
by
with injury
injuries,
as
yeah.
well. Lost 2 of their best defenders. They showed a bit of spirit and they were in the game, but they're not Premier League quality. And ultimately that comes down to the fact that the owners don't want to invest. He wants to sell the football club. So Heckingbottom is basically working with one hand tied behind his back.
You think they was in front against Spurs, weren't they? Going well into added on time. Man City, there was level with Man City going right to the end of the game. And I think
they're playing for him.
Yeah, well, yeah. There's the spirit is there, but I just think the style of football they're trying to play in the Premier League, the teams they're playing against, especially obviously, mate, they have better individual players. So you've got to be better as a unit, and you've got to be better structured defensively. And I don't think Sheffield United are. And I agree with Crookie. I can't see them surviving.
Goalkeeper has to make too many saves for me, and he does actually. I think I know that people have been a little bit critical about the Dalot goal and whether or not he could have got there. But I think you're taking it away from the strike if you say that. But also, I think he's made so many good saves over the course of the season for them. They could have been in a much worse position. I actually quite like him as a goalkeeper, to be honest. But they just give away too many chances to the opposition, and there isn't enough goals, despite the fact that they've invested in Archer. And Harmer is a very good creative player. They're not clinical enough, are they? And listen, you're going to have a real clinical striker if you're going to be in a team that doesn't create chances like Sheffield United are never going to do because they don't have the quality.
2 players you mentioned, and I'll put Ollie McBurney in there as well.
Yeah, that's triumvirate.
Are excellent Championship players, but maybe not quite the quality when you come up into the
Archer
Premier
might
League.
develop into that as he gets older, and he might learn during the course of this season because he's already scored 1 very good goal and created another very good goal.
Villa have got a buyback as well,
Everton.
which if they go down, I would expect it to be activated. I think either way he'll be playing in the Premier League next year, and I think Harmer, as you mentioned there, has proved himself to be at home. Fodringham's a good story, by the way, because Mikel Arteta was talking about maybe regretting not substituting a goalkeeper. Fodringham has been in that position when he was at Swindon. He was hauled off after less than half an hour by Paolo Di Canio. So the fact he's now a Premier League goalkeeper,
the arch pragmatist,
is incredible.
Paolo Di Canio.
That wouldn't have been a hot-headed decision by any chance from Paolo, would it?
Well known for his level-headed composure.